Get ready for an unfair advantage over your competition. This is the Sales Edge podcast, where globally recognized sales expert and trainer Joe Pici helps you sharpen your skills for booking more appointments and closing more deals. And now, here's your host, Joe Pici.
Hey team, this is Joe Pici of the Sales Edge. Welcome back. We're excited about having you back on this podcast, number 96. And we know if you're listening to this, you're somewhere in the world, and we know you're probably being affected by the virus throughout the world, and we know it's probably caused adjustments in your life, maybe some tragedy, and we're sorry for that. Maybe you've had clients cancel. Maybe you've had to redirect what you're doing. Maybe you've had to make some adjustments, and we're part of that. You know, we have to be as flexible as you do, but we're going to still be that beacon of hope here and light, and we're going to continue to put out podcasts and help you. I heard a guy this morning on a podcast talk about this may be a time to increase your personal growth. And we're going to do some concurrent podcasts on things you can do to continue to grow your business, to continue to work with your clients in a way of an offer. Should you want to have a Zoom with me, you can basically just give me a call, 407-947-2590. We can set it up, have a cup of Joe through Zoom. We are going to have our boot camps on May 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here in Orlando. They're small enough and a very safe environment. And so we're excited about that. But for any former, present, or future clients that would like to do some coaching or training with me virtually, we can work it out on Zoom or WebEx or some way we can help you and your team in a way of making life better and simpler for you. If you have any suggestions, disagreements, anything you'd like to discuss, feel free to call me or just send me an email at joe@piciandpici.com. Put in Sales Edge, and whatever you want to say, and we will respond quickly. So today on Podcast 96, hard to believe we're on Podcast 96. I mean, we haven't been doing this a whole year. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, one comes out, and today's podcast is labeled, so to speak, Decide and Quit Deciding. Have you ever made a decision only to turn around and change your mind? Have you ever had somebody else make a decision only to turn around and change their mind? And that's kind of normal, and I'm going to give you a few tips on decision-making today. I have my own way of doing it. You have your way of doing it. I'm going to give you some ideas on maybe some ways you can make decisions and some of the definitions or what decision-making is all about is the art of arriving at a conclusion. The reason you have to decide is to eventually have a conclusion. It's a determination arrived at after consideration. A conclusion, it's when you make up your mind. A resolution, it's a judgment. It's decisiveness. It's firmness. It's purposeful. It's resolute. Have you ever had a challenge in deciding? Have you ever been asked a question of whether you should do this and that only to not know where to go? And so, when you have these struggles, a lot of times it's because maybe you don't have a process and procedure. And I'm not going to roll out ours, okay? You really can't do that unless you see it on a whiteboard or something. But I am going to, in studying Decision Maker, because I'm, in my earlier life, I made some poor decisions in my career and my business, and I got sick and tired of making dumb decisions. So we'll talk about that later. But some challenges that can prevent you from making effective decisions is, number one, is not enough information. If you don't have enough information, you don't have the ability to compare. Take some time to gather the necessary data to inform your decision, even if it moves the timeline a little bit. If necessary, you have to prioritize your information gathering by identifying which information is most important to you. So you've got to do some information gathering. A lot of times people make decisions, they don't have enough information to make that decision. Another challenge in being able to make good decisions is you have too much information. The opposite problem. It's you've gathered so much information, it almost locks you up. You read here, and this is what goes on a lot now because of social media, and I'm certainly not putting that down. But I work with so many clients and individuals, and they spend more time gathering information, and quite frankly, it confuses them sometimes. They watch a YouTube video, they read an article, they pop from thing to thing, and they never put their stake in the ground and say, okay, I've gotten all the data I need, I got all the information I need, it's time to conclude. The reason you gather information is to make a conclusion. Sorry. Number 3, too many voices, too many people in your head. Okay? Sometimes you have so many people talking to you. You get so many people's other point of view. And this is good. Other people's point of view is good. That's why people retain coaches. That's why they have mentors. That's why they have trusted advisors. I'm not putting anybody down for doing that. I have a coach. I have people I seek wisdom from. That's not the issue. It's how many of them, okay? And how many people do you have in your ear? And how many people do you have giving you an opinion on a particular item? So you can actually take in too much of other people's opinion if you're not careful. Vested interest. This can cause a challenge in making a decision. Decision-making processes often, they flounder under the weight of vested interest. These vested interests are often overly expressed. So in other words, if there are hidden agendas, if there are people that are involved in this decision that have a vested interest in this decision, and it doesn't line up with what you need, it can create a major challenge. You need to be careful how many people have agendas or vested interests in this decision. Number 5, emotional attachments. I've always believed emotion can really cloud decision making. They can get very attached to their status quo. Decisions that involve the prospect or you to make a change, this can become difficult. And so emotion can really challenge you when you're making that decision. But by the other side, no emotional attachment. Sometimes people just don't care. They don't care about the outcome. There's nothing at stake for them. So there's nothing emotional. There's no loss if they make the wrong decision. And that can create poor decisions. So when you look at, there's many others, but these 6 are simple, but I've seen these 6 really challenge good decision making. Not enough information, too much information, too many people in your ear, vested interests, too much emotion, or not enough emotion. I found some really great quotes on this. Stephen Covey, you want to read some of his stuff, it's really good. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is one of his books. I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions. And I would have to agree. Wherever we are in life, it's from the decisions we've made. Jim Rohn, famous guy. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you get off on sometimes. What matters most is getting off. You cannot make progress without making decisions. Sometimes we get stuck We're afraid to make the right decision, so we make no decision. And quite frankly, a decision not made is really a decision made. That's a Joeism. Because if you decide not to make a decision, you've made a decision. As Dawn would say, put that in your phone and tweet it. That's great. Peter Drucker. Whenever you see successful business, someone once made a courageous decision. That's great. Napoleon Bonaparte. Nothing is more difficult and therefore more precious than to be able to decide. Bob Stein. The indispensable first step to getting things you want out of life is decide what you want. And I will tell you that in working with thousands of people, one of the biggest challenges for people is for them to decide, what do I want? What outcome do I want? How do I want this to end? Edward de Bono. An expert is someone who has succeeded in making decisions and judgments simpler throughout knowing what to pay attention to and what to ignore. So when we wrap that up, think about this. Decision is the spark that ignites action. It's the catalyst. Until a decision is made, nothing happens. Decision is the courteous facing of issues, knowing that if they're not faced, problems will remain forever unanswered. Well, here's a few keys to making decision, okay? Look, this is not a decision-making process you may want to own. Throughout my research and talking to people that seem to make decisions well, okay, here's some of the things they do. First of all, they realize decision-making is a process. They try not to make it out of emotion. It is really a process and procedure. Okay, so the first thing they seem to do is they identify the decision. They realize they need to make a decision. They clearly define the nature of the decision they must make. And this usually is the first step. They have to decide a decision needs to be made. The second thing they do, they gather relevant information. They collect pertinent information before they make the decision. They make sure the information has quality sources. They know where they got it. They know who they got it from. And this takes work. This takes a lot of work. And I'll give you an example. Just the virus situation. As we saw it coming, we went, okay, we're going to need to be able to do things virtually. And I reached out to some people that we connected with on LinkedIn. And just like that, I did a Zoom call and I picked up a Zoom coaching client from Singapore. Now that the decision had to be made. Dawn did some research on the best way to get payments that was secure. Okay? So then it was, okay, get quality information. And just like that, within an hour, we were ready to go. We got the client, and now we set up the coaching. And so now we have a process. But the decision had to be made, and we had to get relevant information. Now, the next thing they seem to do is they identified different steps. You want to collect the information. You want to identify different possible steps and plans of action, all the different alternatives. So you want to do an evaluation here. Then, number 4, they tend to weigh the evidence. They draw from their information, and then they imagine what it's going to look like, and then they want to start putting action steps in place. So that they have to get their action steps in place. Certain action steps will tend to deliver higher potential to reach your goal. They place those action steps in a priority list. Prioritization is vital. The next step they seem to take all the time, they choose the best action steps okay? They look at them and they select the best one that's going to give them their end result. So they tie those action steps into results, and they put them, like I said, into a prioritization. Then finally, number 6, they take action. Decide and quit deciding. The idea of all of these other steps is to come to a conclusion, but the conclusion is to add to action. So they take the step, they begin to implement, they execute on their decision. As they're executing on their decision, they will keep an eye on the process. They will review their decisions. But Andy Andrews, one of our favorite speakers, just a great friend, New York Times bestseller many times, probably the best storytelling expositor when it comes to teaching principles through story. I heard him 25 years ago or more say, successful people make decisions quickly and change their minds slowly. Think about what he just said. Successful people make decisions quickly, but change their minds slowly. So don't think because something is hard, you made the wrong decision. Maybe you haven't executed it long enough. I would challenge you then to create a decision-making system. What we did, what Joe and Dawn Pici did, what I had to do was I had to create an unemotional decision-making process. I call it priority management. Now, everything starts with end in mind. Everything has to line up. It's visual, so I can't show it to you. But I have a system. The reason I'm telling you this is I had to have an unemotional system of decision-making for anything. I mean, every decision I make, I use my system. That could be like what I eat. That could be like where every dollar goes. That could be with who I'm making a phone call to. That could be where we are in the process of selling. That could mean everything we do for everything from small decisions to large decisions. Because I realized was if you had a process and a procedure and a system for decision making, you would tend to make less bad decisions, but also you would have in place a way that you knew immediately, am I making the right decision or wrong decision? And if you chose to make the wrong decision, you knew it immediately, not $100,000 later. I'll share that priority management with any of you. When I'm coaching clients, I'm using my priority management system to coach with. It's a tool that once they have it in place, we're always on the same page. We're speaking the same language. So this has been podcast number 96. We're fired up. We ask you to do something for us. If this is valuable to you, can you like it? Can you share it? Can you write a comment? Also, for new people, we have a service for you to get some free downloads, and we will not pump you full of information, but some free downloads. If you'll type into your phone 55678 and one word Sales Edge and send that, and then that'll take you to a link to a splash page where there's some free downloads. One is on LinkedIn. Dawn and I just finished working with 12 women-owned big businesses on how to utilize LinkedIn to generate better leads in the marketplace. We tag teamed that together the other night. And so there's some information on LinkedIn. There's also links to our podcast. But thank you so much. We're going to get through this storm together. I'm not making light of it. It's serious. But I know this, okay? We will get through it together. We want to be part of your solution. Thanks for being on our podcast.
Thanks for listening. New episodes will air each Tuesday and Thursday, so make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a 5-star review. The Sales Edge is sponsored by Pici and Pici Incorporated, a firm which provides training, consulting, and keynote presentations, empowering corporations and individuals to attract and retain quality clients for higher revenues and growth. make more money in sales. Speak with Joe in person by calling 407-947-2590 or visit www.piciandpici.com. Spelled PICIAND, PICI.com.